Has cancelled an international air show scheduled for next month with UN sanctions on fuel, thought to be the primary reason, according to diplomatic sources compiled by Japan's NHK News. No official reason has been given for the cancellation, but it's thought the regime is looking to cut down on waste after UN sanctions on imports of aviation fuel really started to squeeze the regime's resources. The Wonsan International Friendship Air Festival was set to show off several of the North's aircraft, from MiG fighters to commercial Goryeo planes. It had also been aiming to earn some much-needed revenue from foreign tourists after the event appeared on the regime's tourism website earlier this month.
And following those missile launches, U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson says Washington will continue to seek a peaceful resolution despite the regime's provocative actions. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Having said that, we're going to continue our peaceful pressure campaign, as I have described it, working with allies, working with China as well, to see if we can bring the regime in Pyongyang to the negotiating table with a view to begin a dialogue on a different future for Korean Peninsula and for North Korea.
Tillerson said previously that while the U.S. prefers a diplomatic approach, it's prepared to respond with military force if necessary. He also underscored the important role of China and Russia in diffusing the crisis, saying they bear unique and special responsibility for North Korea's growing threat to regional stability.
Now, across the EC now, and Japan's military held its annual live-fire exercise over the weekend amid rising tensions with North Korea. The large-scale demonstrations were open to the public, allowing Tokyo to boast about its defensive capabilities. Park Se-young with more.
Japan's self-defense forces held their annual live-fire exercise on Sunday in Shizuoka Prefecture. According to NHK, around 2,400 soldiers, 20 aircraft and 80 vehicles were deployed at training grounds at the foot of Mount Fuji, some 80 kilometers west of Tokyo. And for the first time, Japan unveiled its assault amphibious vehicle designed for assaults on shorelines and the transportation of both naval infantry and cargo. The annual drill was carried out under a scenario of combined forces retaking a remote island captured by an enemy, amid Japan's pressing territorial disputes with China and Russia. However, Sunday's drill happened to take place a day after North Korea launched 3 missiles into the EC. The live-fire demonstrations have been open to the public since 1966 for a better understanding of how the Japanese military works. Around 25,000 spectators came out on Sunday to watch their military forces fire weapons, ranging from small arms to artillery.
It's already early morning here Monday in Pyongyang, another wet and rainy, cloudy day. And yes, I think that we've got through the weekend without a big outpouring of concern over Saturday's latest DPRK missile test. Also, the DPRK didn't acknowledge it. And I think that the nature of the test again was different. It wasn't like those long-range tests in July, which caused the greatest international concern. It wasn't like that threat to launch missiles all the way to waters off Guam. It was something quite different, although our outside experts did consider that that test on Saturday is something where the DPRK is trying to make progress in its missile development to make those short-range missiles go a bit further to be able to hit more targets in the south of Korea. However, there wasn't strong condemnation from the South Korean presidential office, and now we're in the final few days of these US-South Korea joint military exercises, and traditionally this kind of autumn period, once those autumn exercises finish, leads into what will be in October a mid-autumn festival. It's a festival shared both in North and South Korea, and often a time which the two sides of the Korean Peninsula have reached out for reconciliation at. And also this year, this October period will mark the 10th anniversary of a landmark summit between North and South back in 2007, the two leaders. And I think that this is potentially, people are looking forward to this period as a possible chance for a bit of a thaw, warming up of relations between North and South.
North Korea's continued provocations made it even more challenging for the fairly young Moon administration to start dialogue with Pyongyang. However, Seoul is giving the regime another chance. Stop provocations until October, and there could be denuclearization talks then. Connie Kim has the full story.
South Korea will be keeping an eye until October to see if circumstances become optimal for talks with North Korea.
Diplomatic space could be made for dialogue with North Korea on its denuclearization if the situation on the Korean peninsula is under control by October, namely the 10th anniversary of the October 4th Inter-Korean Summit Declaration or the founding of the Korean Workers' Party.
During a press briefing on Thursday on the administration's diplomatic achievements, Minister Kang also highlighted that the ministry will stay alert as Pyongyang is prone of marking important dates and anniversaries with provocations. The top diplomat also reiterated Seoul's plans to gear efforts in thawing icy inter-Korean relations.
Apart from denuclearization talks under the right conditions, the government will gear efforts in easing tensions on the Korean peninsula and resolving pending humanitarian issues.
But at the same time, Kang reiterated the country's stance. Seoul will respond sternly to any provocation with adequate measures. And following such policy, Seoul plans to lay out a new set of unilateral sanctions on Pyongyang following the new UN Security Council Resolution 2371.
Staying with that session, the Ministry of National Defense vows to take a more aggressive role than previously planned if a conflict breaks out on the peninsula. In contrast to the previous administration's measures, the military will go on the offensive and destroy key North Korean facilities. Kim Hyun-bin introduces to us the new concept and structure to take shape.
A ministry report to President Moon Jae-in on Monday, which looked at reform and the future role of the military, focused on establishing a wartime concept where the military will take a more aggressive role. The concept reflects Seoul's aim to be able to better seize the initiative in the early stages of a conflict in case deterrence fails.
Our military will establish a new concept of how to fight, a new concept of operation, and will restructure our unit, force, and command structure, among others, to better adapt to the new concept.
South Korea's Defense Minister Song Yong-moo has stressed that the military will take more of an offensive stance by destroying key North Korean facilities at the outbreak of war, in contrast to the previous administration's stance, which focused on maintaining a defensive posture until reinforcements arrived from the U.S. mainland.
North Korea's nuclear and missile threats is the most serious threat, so we plan to speed up development of our three-layer defense system, includes kill chain, KAMD, and KMPR.
The three-layer defense aims to preemptively strike and destroy key North Korean facilities when a threat is deemed imminent. President Moon made clear that there shouldn't be any war, but he emphasized that deterrence is based on a strong defense. He also pointed out that Seoul will lead all security issues regarding the Korean peninsula. One of President Moon's campaign pledges is for Seoul to regain wartime operations control from Washington at an earlier date. Seoul handed over OPCON to the U.S. shortly after the start of the Korean War in 1950. And if war breaks out on the peninsula, the commander of the U.S. forces in Korea will take a leading role. Seoul plans to speed up this transfer to the early 2020s from the current mid-2020s. The ministry also reaffirmed its determination to root out corruption related to arms development and procurement.
The policy briefing session continues at the presidential office. Several government ministries and agencies took turns today, but the focal point was military reform. Hwang Ho-jun has the latest from Cheongwade.
President Moon Jae-in received a policy briefing by the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs on Thursday. Addressing the Defense Ministry, President Moon stressed the advent of peace can only be possible through a strong military and that the government will do its best to support the reform within the military even in tough economic times.
그러나 더 중요한 것은 군 스스로 오랜 군대 문화를 쇄신하고 혁파하는 뼈를 깎는 자기 혁신의 노력이라고 생각합니다.
President Moon reprimanded the ministry, saying that although former administrations also pointed at the need for reform in the nation's defense ministry, but not much was done in that respect. He said the military still cannot exercise its wartime operational control, corruption is still prevalent within the defense industry, and the abridgment of the military conscripts' human rights is yet to be eradicated. According to the Blue House, President Moon also ordered the Defense Ministry to further enhance the military's mobility and air defense capabilities, as well as its defense readiness, calling for an immediate counteroffensive if and when North Korea, quote, crosses the line. He also ordered the ministry to come up with a plan on how it will implement the so-called 3 key defense pillars, referring to South Korea's kill chain, missile defense system, and massive punishment and retaliation strategies. Addressing the Ministry of Patriots and Veterans Affairs, the president emphasized the need to pay the utmost respect to the nation's veterans. Later in the afternoon, President Moon had another policy briefing session with the Interior Ministry, Justice Ministry, and the Anti-Corruption and Civil Rights Commission. During the session, President Moon once again stressed the pivotal role that is the protection of the safety of the people. He pledged the government will support the decentralization of power within South Korea. He also ordered government branches to bring about the reformation of the prosecution and to come up with countermeasures to eradicate corruption nationwide.
Coming back to South Korea, at the nation's top office, President Moon Jae-in welcomed the U.S. congressional delegation. The two sides agreed on the growing importance of Seoul-Washington alliance. The Liberal leader clarified, in the end, it will be dialogue that will lead to North Korea's nuclear dismantlement. Moon Gun-young shares with us what was discussed.
우리 한반도 평화 그리고 또 동북아 평화를 위해서 많은 노력들 해주고 계신 것에 대해서 감사를 드립니다.
South Korean President Moon Jae-in welcomed a U.S. bipartisan congressional delegation led by Representative Ed Royce at the Presidential Blue House, extending his special thanks for keeping the pressure strong on North Korea through legislative means, while at the same time sending a message for a diplomatic solution. The South Korean leader added that the complete dismantlement of North Korea's nuclear program, however, must ultimately be achieved through dialogue. In response, Congressman Royce highlighted the importance of the South Korea-U.S. alliance.
The special relationship that exists between South Korea and the United States is the cornerstone of our relationship.
The South Korean leader also touched upon other aspects of the Seoul-Washington relationship.
President Moon noted that the South Korea-US alliance is maturing into a comprehensive one, embracing the economy, social issues and culture from an alliance solely based on military and security. Noting how the Korea-US FTA makes huge contributions to the development of both countries, the president vowed to make efforts to build a more reciprocal relationship between the two through the fair trade agreements.
The KORUS free trade agreement between Korea and the United States, I can say the result has been another $20 billion of additional trade on top of the trade we were already doing between Korea and the United States. And my hope is that we use KORUS as the foundation. We make in cooperation what changes we need to make, but we move forward and we continue to create